Well, greetings! We are back with yet another, well, I almost said an unboxing video, but this really isn't an unboxing video. This is an introduction video to the brand new E-flite UMX F4F Wildcat. This is something that folks, believe it or not, have been requesting on RC groups for years. In fact, there's a gentleman from Canada, goes by the name of Skytech on RC groups. And a little over 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago, he started a thread where he photoshopped a picture of this. The original Park Zone F4F Wildcat next to a DX6, I believe it was, transmitter. And he shrunk it down. And the thread actually slowly kind of chugged on and was gaining a little bit of momentum within the last year, believe it or not, which showed that there was an interest in Horizon Hobbies releasing a smaller version of the ever popular Park Zone F4F Wildcat. So this isn't going to be a traditional unboxing video because there's already been some folks out there saying, oh, unboxing videos or whatever. Okay, got it. This is going to be my take on things, okay? And as usual, I will always look at things through the historical prism, through the historical mindset, and always be trying to shine a little light on the background of these aircraft and what they represent, or at least the models represent, with regards to their full-scale counterparts. In any event, as you can clearly see, we have both of the Wildcats here. Okay, I've got my daily flyer, or what amounts to my daily flyer, Park Zone F4F Wildcat, which I've had now for several years, literally. I don't even know how many flights are on this plane. It's ever so slightly modified. I put a 30 amp ESC in it, a 9.5 by 7.5 prop, commonly referred to as a T28 prop, but Horizon Hobby and Park Zone have used it on multiple models. The T28, the original T28, that is, there's now a second and a third, actually a fourth if you think of the UMX T28, Corsair, etc., etc. Anyways, I put the prop on this plane, really perked it up. Not saying it flew bad on the stock 9x6. It's just that putting the slightly larger prop on it really made it just a bit more spunky, a bit more lively in the air. Not that it didn't fly well to begin with. The original Park Zone Wildcat to this day has an ardent following, and the thread on RC groups has continued to grow despite the fact the plane's been discontinued now for like over 2 years, or coming up on 2 years. Or 3 years actually. 2014 I believe is when the plane was discontinued. Spring of 2014 if memory serves correctly. So here we are, we're coming up on 3 years ago, and the Park Zone F4F Wildcat owners thread on RC groups is just, it's going as strong as ever, and in fact has sort of a cult following. People all over the world. There are Wildcat fans all over the globe flying these and loving it. So when it became, I don't want to say apparent because it really never became apparent until Horizon released the UMX Wildcat, but when it became hopeful that Horizon might actually pull the trigger on it, excitement started to you could actually sense the palpable excitement out there. People were going, oh my gosh, are they really going to do it? Because even on the Park Zone Wildcat thread, people have been asking for years, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Because it was the quintessential belly lander. This is a quintessential park flyer. You know, weighed in about 24, 26 ounces, hand launched, belly landed, no flaps, no frills, no flaps, no landing gear, none of that stuff. Doesn't need it. It's 4-channel plane out of the box, flies great. What more could you ask for? Well, apparently you could ask for this. The same designer, Matt Andren, who I've had the privilege and honor to meet, designed both. And he took his styling cues from the F4F Wildcat that is now at Chicago O'Hare Airport. And that's where he got the ideas for the paint scheme. I actually interviewed him a couple of years ago, and he said that that's where he got his styling cues. He also says that when they were early on in the development phase of the Wildcat, and they put 3 views up, that they were shocked as to how similar the Grumman design was to the North American T-28 with regards to basically the moments, which is the distance from the main wing to the empennage, the nose, etc. The wing planform, it was very, very similar, which Matt says he knew right away this thing was going to be an excellent flyer, and it is. So what was the Wildcat? Okay, and without belaboring things, I do want to keep this video somewhat short, but I want to keep it informative, and I want you to have an interest in these little aircraft because they have a very significant and historic role with regards to at least the United States anyways, and the U.S. Navy in particular. At the outset of World War II, the U.S. Navy really only had a couple of fighters that could at least make a showing against the Japanese Zero, which, by the way, Claire Chennault had already warned the United States about because he'd already seen this superlative, fantastic Japanese fighter plane just tearing up the skies over China. So Claire Chennault actually tried to warn the U.S. aircraft makers and indeed just folks within the defense establishment, hey, the Japanese and the Mitsubishi Corporation have developed this incredible fighter aircraft. We're woefully outclassed. And for whatever reasons, which will be debated by historians ad nauseum, it fell on deaf ears. And we found ourselves with the Grumman F4F Wildcat and the Brewster F2A Buffalo. Let's talk just a little bit about that. The Wildcat and the Buffalo were very similar designs overall. In fact, Brewster was developing a monoplane, all-metal fighter aircraft, and when Grumman found out, they essentially hastily modified their F3F biplane into a monoplane configuration, and that was the nascent Wildcat. And it must be noted that the Wildcat, in its original incarnation, actually lost the naval aviation competition to the Brewster Buffalo. So the Brewster Buffalo was selected over the Wildcat, but Grumman proceeded in refining its design and refining the Wildcat to the point where the Navy actually began purchasing Wildcats as well. And after very poor showings in combat in the Pacific, the Brewster was withdrawn and the Wildcat pressed on in frontline service. And really, what made the Wildcat a great fighter against the Zero was more maneuverable than the Wildcat because the Zero was light. It had very light wing loading, and it had no armor for the pilot, had no self-sealing fuel tanks, didn't have a radio direction finder for the aircraft, for the pilot to utilize when it got close to the aircraft carriers. It could actually sort of locate where the aircraft carriers were, okay? The Zero had none of that. In fact, little trivia for you, most Zeros didn't even have radios. They just, I don't know how they I guess they, hand and arm signals or something. But I'll say most. I say a lot of Zeros did not even have radios, okay? The Wildcat, on the other hand, had substantial armor plating, had self-sealing fuel tanks, had a radio direction finder that assisted the pilots in finding the aircraft carriers in the dark of night or in stormy weather. The Wildcat also had 50 caliber machine guns. Now granted, the Zero had two 20 millimeters and two 7.7s, but the Wildcat was well equipped with 50 caliber machine guns, which is an exceptional weapon system on a fighter aircraft. So the Wildcat actually had a lot going for it. And in the hands of a competent, skilled pilot, that person could utilize and leverage the Wildcat's advantages against the Zero, and even if it didn't actually shoot down the Zero, at least the pilot could live to fight another day. As far as top speeds and all that, they're fairly evenly matched. I think the Zero had the Wildcat by about 20 miles an hour. And if you think about it, big picture, most of the combat occurred about 200, 250, maybe 300 miles an hour anyways. So really, the Zero was in its element, 200 to 250 miles an hour. Above 250 miles an hour, the aileron started to get heavy on the Zero and it lost a lot of its maneuverability, which interestingly enough is where the Wildcat really started to perform well, was say 250 miles per hour and above, because it utilized its weight to build kinetic energy in zoom dives and zoom passes. So we could dive down, build a tremendous amount of energy, and do a zoom climb up, and it could utilize that in combat. Plus, Jimmy Thatch developed this very successful maneuver called the Thatch Weave, whereas two Wildcats flying, if they would just start weaving in and out, eventually, if there was a Zero trying to get on the tail of one of the aircraft, the wingman could wind up on the tail of the Zero. The Thatch Weave proved to be very effective. Okay, for those who are interested in learning more about the history of the Wildcat, I highly recommend this book right here. Okay, this is by John B. Lundstrom. It's published by the Naval Institute Press. It's called The First Team: Pacific Naval Air Combat from Pearl Harbor to Midway. First published, or at least this copy anyways, published in 1984. And this book is absolutely amazing. Has breakdowns of the organization of fighter squadrons, of the F4F fighter squadrons. Has a very detailed Appendix 3, details the markings of the Wildcat, to include the size of the national insignia on the wings in inches, the size of the stripes on the rudder, carrier tactics, fighter tactics, the making of a carrier pilot, and on and on and on. The bottom line is, the First Team is the Wildcat aficionado's Bible, right here. The First Team by John B. Lundstrom. You can find it online. I'm sure Amazon has it, or whomever. I'm not out here advocating for any particular vendor over another, but I will say this: John B. Lundstrom did a wonderful, wonderful effort in writing this book, and I'm telling you, it is absolutely by far and away the reference for folks who are interested in the Wildcat. Okay, so what comes with the UMX Wildcat? All right, basically you get an owner's manual. You get a little strip of Velcro, and you get these little rubber wheels that you utilize to go onto this beautiful landing gear. You remove this wonderful landing gear, which it really, really, really replicates the Wildcat's intricate landing gear, which, by the way, was hand cranked. It was hand cranked by the pilot, and I forget whether it was 32 or 36 cranks to get this thing up. The pilot would have to crank it up. Yeah, that just shows you how basic of an aircraft the Wildcat was, okay? But you remove this intricate landing gear. I believe it comes off in 3 pieces. And then this goes on and turns the aircraft into a belly lander, which I'm really looking forward to. So it has a wonderful scale landing gear, a beautiful scale 3-bladed prop, plastic cowling, at least the leading edge of the cowling is plastic, and a cavernous battery tray. So let me go ahead and walk this little Wildcat up to the camera to get you some close-ups. We'll bring her back down here on the table and we'll close this one out. So here we go. So up close, you're going to see, again, I'm going to show you the intricate design of the landing gear. It is just absolutely superlative. It is beautiful. And I know I use that word a lot, but I'm telling you, this is a wonderful, wonderful landing gear. And what happens is, this comes off. This landing gear will come off. And then the little rubber straps, the black rubber strap will go on and it will be replaced with the black tires, and now you have a belly lander. Okay, here's our exit holes for the air. Here's going down the empennage. Okay, you see you have your standard U, okay, linkage. You have, without getting into, you know, people saying, oh, what kind of airfoil? Look, it's an airfoil, okay? It's not flat, it's not pressed Epron, it's an actual airfoil on the elevator, okay? Same thing with the rudder. It's a real bona fide airfoil. Now, the wing. The wing is absolutely a flat bottom wing, okay? It is a traditional flat bottomed NACA wing. Some people may want to say, oh, it's, you know, under cambered, whatever. Okay, the bottom line is it is a thick, fully airfoiled wing with a flat bottom profile. It's probably like a NACA 27 shape is what it looks like to me. But in any event, the fit and the finish on this model is excellent. The foam hinges are excellent. And let's go ahead and look inside the motor bay, or at least the battery bay. So we have, as standard practice, we have two rare earth magnets. We have a beautiful plastic faux radial engine up front. You can see it's a thick plastic engine which has adequate entry for the cooling. Just so you know, I have removed the factory Velcro and placed my own Velcro in here. Took a little bit of the paint off, as you can see, when I took the factory Velcro off, but I really don't care. And what I did was I put my battery right up against that pop-out, the little star pop-out. I put the battery up against that for the maiden, and she flew just fine. But as you can see, it's a cavernous battery compartment and battery floor. It really is, okay? As far as the cover, it has the tongue and groove in the back, and actually you can see where it keys into the back. So it is a traditional tongue and groove, and you can see the plastic. The front part is plastic. The same, by the way, goes for the bottom. Okay, this plastic. So that's a cool touch. It really is. All right. So, oh, and then we're going to finish off with a beautiful scale 3-bladed prop with a very nice mounting detail up front. Okay, so all in all, they did a really, really, really good job on this plane. They did a real good job on this plane. Okay, so let's go ahead and get her on back here and let's close this out, because we're already getting a little longer than I wanted to. But in case you haven't noticed, I really, really am a fan of the Wildcat. So there will be plenty of videos of this model flying. Truth be told, and full disclosure, I've already flown this model. In fact, the maiden flight is already posted to my YouTube channel. So this video that we're shooting right now will follow, in a sense, in reverse order. So we already have the maiden flight posted, and then now we're going to have the unboxing. But again, just a fantastic model, fantastic flying model. I think the next video we do, going to show you flying this as a hand-launched belly lander, just like its 39-inch bigger brother. So I hope you enjoyed this first look. We're not going to call it an unboxing. Okay, we're going to call it the E-flite UMX F4F Wildcat first look. Okay. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Blue skies, everybody. Happy landings. Cheers. 2 thumbs up. This one's a winner.